I never expected a friendship to end like this, quietly, without shouting or anger, just a heavy, slow ache that settled deep inside. I'm Jason, and this is how my closest friend stole not only my trust, but my business idea. It wasn't a sudden betrayal shouted across a room or a confrontation demanding answers. It was the kind of betrayal that sneaks in beneath the surface, almost invisible until the damage is done. My best friend, Alex, stole my business idea, not with loud drama, but quietly, piece by piece, until what I had carefully nurtured for years became his. Instead of fighting back or losing my temper, I stayed silent. Deep down, I sensed he would stumble on his own, and though it hurt, part of me felt a strange mix of sadness and relief watching it unravel. This isn't a story about loud revenge or instant payback. It's about the quiet strength of patience, standing back, letting the consequences catch up without saying a word. Alex and I grew up side by side, same neighborhood, same schools, but our connection went far beyond shared memories. Our friendship was a foundation built on trust and fueled by big dreams. We spent countless late nights tossing around ideas about the future, what we wanted to build, the lives we hoped to create together. When I finally put together a business plan, a modest tech startup focused on sustainable products, he was the first person I trusted with it. At the start, it felt like we were truly partners, aligned on the same vision. We discussed investors, partnerships, pooling our resources. Everything seemed to point toward a shared goal. I believed in him and in us. I never imagined that the trust I leaned on would crumble so quietly, without a single warning. But over time, things started to change, almost without me noticing. Alex began making decisions on his own. I found out later, sometimes by accident or from other people, that he met with investors alone or filed important papers we should have signed together. It wasn't a loud fight or obvious theft. It was something colder, leaving me out, quietly pushing me aside. Calls went unanswered, messages disappeared or came back with weak excuses. It felt like an invisible wall was going up between us, slowly cutting me out. The hurt was quiet, but stayed with me like a weight I couldn't shake. I kept going over every talk and plan, trying to find where I missed the signs. When I finally asked Alex about it, he didn't deny what he did. Instead, he brushed me off, saying I wasn't ready, that he was doing what was best for both of us. No sorry, just excuses and half-truths. The talk ended in silence, leaving only a cold distance between us. I realized this wasn't just a simple misunderstanding. It was a quiet kind of betrayal, one built on being shut out and slowly losing control. The friendship that once felt like solid ground had turned into an empty space filled with silence and broken trust. I had a choice: explode with anger and confrontation or find a different way. I chose the harder path. When betrayal is silent, the answer has to be just as calm and deliberate. The shock hit me hard. The hurt lingered like a weight in my chest, but I knew acting on impulse would only make things worse. Anger might feel right in the moment, but it wouldn't protect what was mine. So I stepped back and held on to silence, not giving up, but taking back control. Instead of fighting, I gathered every detail, every email, every message, every meeting Alex had without me. I recorded it all. Piece by piece, I built a clear picture of what was happening behind the scenes. I also reached out to legal advisors, learning my rights and options.
This wasn't a race. It was a careful game of patience and clear thinking. Quick moves wouldn't win. The real power was in waiting, letting time and truth work their course. I watched from the sidelines as Alex's grip on the business tightened. But control without a strong foundation is fragile. Soon, cracks appeared. Poor choices, money mishandled, chances slipping through our fingers. The company was growing fast, but in the wrong direction. Without the steady groundwork I'd laid, everything started to shake. Power isn't about being first or the loudest. It's about standing firm when everything else seems to fall apart. I learned that patience is real strength, not weakness or giving up, but the calm before a big change. So I stayed silent, steady and ready. The business was his now, but I wasn't finished. I made the choice to step back and let Alex run things on his own. This wasn't surrender. It was letting natural consequences play out. I stopped pushing, stopped trying to insert myself in decisions I no longer controlled. Instead, I kept a quiet watch from a distance. What I saw wasn't progress, it was unraveling. Funds were mishandled, deadlines were missed, investors grew uneasy. Alex's confidence wavered as the cracks deepened. Without careful planning, the company started to spiral. Opportunities vanished, the dream we once built together began to fade, slipping further out of reach. I didn't step in. No heated confrontations, no public accusations. I fought the urge to expose or attack. Instead, I pulled back, choosing quiet detachment. I let things unfold on their own, trusting that consequences would catch up in time. Sometimes the strongest move isn't noise or action, it's patience and restraint. Watching from the sidelines taught me more than I expected about power and trust. Betrayal feels like a sudden loss, but it's rarely the final chapter. When you stay steady and silent, the truth finds room to breathe. Poor choices and mistakes can't stay hidden forever. They slip out slowly, revealing themselves not in clashes, but in results. Seeing Alex struggle wasn't about revenge or satisfaction. It was a reminder that integrity and careful planning matter. You can't build something solid on shortcuts or secret moves. The cracks grew wider and natural consequences followed. I learned that real accountability doesn't need a show. It happens quietly in the slow crumbling of false confidence. I wasn't there to fight fire with fire. I let time and truth do their work. The ending felt certain, not because I forced it, but because I stayed patient and let reality play out. In that silence, I found strength. Sometimes strength is simply knowing when to wait. Under Alex's leadership, the business began to stumble. What once held so much promise slowly lost its drive. Investors grew cautious as reports of missed deadlines and sloppy management slipped through the cracks. Meetings that used to buzz with energy turned quiet and tense, heavy with unspoken doubts. Partnerships we had worked hard to build dissolved one by one. Deals fell apart, and the company's reputation quietly slipped away.
The decline didn't crash suddenly or make headlines. It crept in, almost invisible some days, but unmistakable as the months dragged on. Trust faded like a shadow at dusk, and with it, investor support thinned out. Alex's confident stride gave way to frustration and desperation, but by then, the damage had already taken root deep in the company's core. Meanwhile, our friendship drifted further apart, not with loud fights or confrontations, but through a widening silence neither of us could cross. The space between us was filled with unspoken disappointment, a tension thick enough to choke on. Loyalty fractured, leaving only memories that felt heavier with every quiet moment. Power shifted slowly, like sand slipping through fingers. The control Alex had quietly claimed began to crumble under the weight of his own missteps. This wasn't a story of dramatic revenge or swift justice. It was a slow unraveling, a quiet consequence arriving without fanfare, but with absolute certainty. The business collapsed piece by piece, relationships broke down, and the balance between us changed forever. Sometimes the biggest changes don't come with noise or fireworks. They happen in the quiet moments between. It's there that actions, or their absence, speak the loudest. Betrayal taught me something unexpected. True strength isn't in shouting back, but in holding steady. When someone you trust breaks that trust, the impulse is to react with anger and demand justice. But calm, deliberate choices carry far more weight than any outburst. Power doesn't always belong to the loudest voice. Sometimes it rests with the one who waits patiently, watches closely, and lets truth unfold naturally. Revenge isn't about grand gestures. It's earned in the quiet aftermath, in the slow unfolding of accountability. This experience changed how I see trust, loyalty, and justice. It's not about winning battles quickly, but about a steady shift shown through actions, not words. Choosing silence wasn't weakness or giving up. It was reclaiming control in a way that couldn't be taken back. When trust breaks, consequences don't always appear right away. Sometimes they surface long after the noise fades, the subtle cracks beneath the surface that go unnoticed until it's too late. The loudest truths are often whispered in silence. The deepest justice lives in the quiet spaces between words where patience holds firm. For me, that silence wasn't empty. It became a place to heal, learn, and find strength I didn't know I had. Sometimes the hardest battles are the quietest ones fought inside ourselves.